Greetings and salutations, my darlings. It is the 4th, and yeah, I'm still a little in crazy mode because there's a lot going on. But I had a chance to discuss art sales with someone in the business, and I feel a little better and a little worse. So, what I was told is that the prices I was given the 50% of gallery retail, or between 40 and 50% of gallery retail, is possible. But it takes two things I do not have, or may have to get. I don't know. First of all, if I had a name in selling art, that would help a lot, which I do not have, and it's not going to be easy to get. It's kind of one of those things that you have to have experience to sell art for people to feel good about buying art from you, but you can't get experience without selling the art. So it's kind of like, yeah, one of those jobs that require experience to get experience. But the second one is time. And so I was told that it would take, I could still achieve those prices, but it could take 2 to even 5 years to get there. So I've been under a lot of pressure to sell this art and sell it fast for a lot of reasons. A, the financial situation. B, the, rent being due. And yeah, there's a lot of people who are counting on me to sell the art sooner rather than later. The faster I sell it, the less I make, which makes a lot of sense. That is true of a lot of things. Desperation is a bad sales partner in every form. So, I do feel better, but it also means that I need to quit thinking about selling the art fast and sort of set it aside more as a savings account. It is not, I can sell some of the lower pieces, that was definitely discussed. Maybe splitting it in half and selling the lower pieces and saving the bigger pieces, which is difficult because we aren't going to have a place to store them forever. It may require a climate-controlled storage unit and some good insurance and things like that. So, it was not undoable. It just wasn't likely in the time limits I've been given. So, I do feel better, but again, not so much. And we do have to move on, preferably by the end of the month. We might be able to find somewhere to stay shortly in between, but anyway. So I discussed that my other option is, or my other decision is to not give up on my business, but to give up on parts of it, give up on some of the stuff, like possibly the vintage toys and games, which, of course, I would get an offer on some of my vintage toys and games when they're put up. That kind of was, I don't know if I'm looking at it as a sign, maybe I shouldn't, but anyway, I'm just not going to have the space to carry everything, and I'm going to have to make some really hard decisions, and that includes things like my antique wood desk. Yeah, it includes a lot of things that I was not necessarily prepared to part with. So I'm going to have to really think, but I really love my antique desk. It's not a roll top like I always wanted, but it's the drop top. And I really love this desk. It was made in the 30s. It is actually an office model, so it's not nearly as pretty as their fancier ones, but it's still, I really love this desk. So that's actually what my computer's sitting on right now. I would really prefer not to. Um, my wedding glasses that, the marriage didn't last, but the glasses are still here and in good shape. I believe they were uh, 85 a piece, I think. And this one's had candles in it, so I apologize for the appearance, but and the necklace wrapped around it doesn't help. This one, I have two of them. The base is the Four Seasons. So, and it will come clean. I had it protected, but there's still been candles in it. Obviously I won't get what I paid out of them, but they're kind of a pain to try to carry with me too, because they're breakable. A lot of my knickknacks, and most of my knickknacks were gifts from my children, or from my grandma, or people that I love and want to remember. So that's a tough decision to make. There's going to be a lot of tough decisions to make, but I'm feeling pretty good about the decision to stop planning. And I really am the type of person who has had to plan 10 steps ahead. And that has been one of the most annoying things, especially with like my family. They just assume that I just woke up one day and decided something, not knowing that I have spent weeks, months, and even years in some cases planning. And in fact, I have really high anxiety, so I plan everything. So if you look at, say, our festival business, not only have I spent 10 to 15 years planning the stock and learning the skills I needed to make the stock, and doing that because we participated in a lot of farmers markets and things that require that we make our own goods. So yeah, there's that. And then years keeping an eye on every festival in the United States and updating that list every year so that I always have the dates, the deadlines, the price, down to the gas mileage. I am a big fan of spreadsheets. I have thousands of spreadsheets. Everything goes into a spreadsheet for me. It's a lot easier for me to keep track that way and to adjust numbers. All of our product pricing is in spreadsheets. All of my research is in spreadsheets. I'm sorry, I need to get a drink here. So, yeah, that's always been a frustrating thing for me, talking to my family. And a lot of their, well, what you should do, without even asking if I've already done that, if I've been spending years doing that. I know one of the first things, they were like, did you even look into low-income housing? And I'm like, that's the first thing I did. To find out that there is no waiting list for low-income housing. And that was before the economy got as shaky as it is now. Last time I knew before that, it was a 2-year waiting list. It hasn't been a 6 months to 1 year waiting list for many, many years. And that's something I've actually kept up on. But they always kind of like assumed that I just didn't do it. Not that I did look into it and it was not feasible, so I had to change plans from there. Low-income housing is pretty much, it's getting few and far between in this country. So, yeah, back to the festival planning, I literally have spreadsheets with everything I need. I'm always afraid I'm going to miss that one thing. And I think some of it is being raised by the family I was, who always assumed I was stupid, never really gave me credit for being the girl who read Shakespeare in fifth grade and um, was testing 12th grade ninth months in everything but math from, fifth grade on or whatever, sixth grade on. I was 6 grades ahead, and my IQ has been tested, and it is 135, 140, depending on the test. So I'm not as dumb as they would like me to be, but it does mean I have to constantly dumb myself down for them, and that sucks. It's very hard to be understood when you're constantly having to backtrack and try to not only say it so a kindergartner would understand it, which they say if you can't explain it so a kindergartner would understand it, then you don't understand it. So, and maybe that is a me problem there. Yes or no answers don't work for me. There is no yes or no in my life. Not when you've spent weeks and months and years researching and honing and shaping and planning and replanning and redoing spreadsheets. And, you know, that's always been frustrating for me. That's probably part of the reason I'm kind of no contact with the outside world a lot of the time, is I'm just tired of explaining myself. It doesn't matter who it is in my life. There are so many people, well, what you need to do is, but they never ask, have I done that? Have I researched that and ruled it out for a good reason? Is it not within my plan? Like, people are always trying to get me to take on side roles. Um, you should sell fake nails. I could, but I already have a product line that I have to focus on. Well, you should sell insurance, but I already have a product line I should focus on. I already have jobs, many jobs. And Captain jokes that we have 6 businesses, but we really don't. We just make 6 products for our business, and I have thrown out products that didn't fit and brought products in, and so I really want to stick in that certain theme, because if I don't, people will have me selling insurance and doing chainsaw carvings and, whatever they think that I should be doing next. And that has been a big problem in my life. It is a constant problem with a lot of people who care about me, for sure, but yeah, that's annoying. And then all the people who are like, you should look into eBay. Been on eBay for almost 30 years. So, yeah, familiar with eBay. Or, what's the other one that I get? Oh, yeah, you should start a YouTube channel, a travel YouTube channel. That's always been the plan. And this is not that channel. This is my channel for talking to people who already give a crap about me, not necessarily bringing strangers in. I do have a travel YouTube channel. The problem is, we've not been able to travel. Things have been, our energies have been split between survival and business. And a YouTube channel is part of that business. The travel part, the going to cemeteries and finding old buildings is a thing I love doing. And then showing some of the festivals, things like that. Eventually I would like to be able to do live streams from events, things like that. But I guess some things I'm going to have to decide whether they are now, later, or never. That, aside from the things I need to get rid of, my possessions, there's also those business things. I've done festivals here and there. I've done the Victor Steampunk Festival. I've done Fruit of Fall Festival. I've done Water Days in my hometown. That's their big 4th of July parade, or big 4th of July thing. It's all day long. It's got all kinds of stuff going on. I do well. And then the Telluride, or the Mountain Village Farmers Market. I did a steampunk and anime event in Grand Junction. I've done a lot of events, but they are expensive to get into. I have to have insurance. There's a lot that goes into it that people who are just coming in with 5 minutes of thought don't think about. And so I think the festivals are going to have to go on the side. I'm going to have to stay with smaller, simpler festivals and events, not the ones I would like to be doing. And I'm going to have to work up. And so that's kind of one of those things, it's like a later thing. But our product line is very well honed. Yes, we make Dream Wands flower sticks. I make polymer clay covered journals and notebooks, and I make the whole thing myself. I make notepads myself. I do all kinds of stationery. I've got the stickers, coloring books. All of this is very well thought out because I knew it would sell, because it's something I could do and do well that not everybody else could do. And then, of course, the jewelry. I've been selling jewelry my entire adult life. I've been making and selling jewelry. I've been buying and reselling jewelry. I know what works and what doesn't. I'm constantly refining my business and looking at it again and trying to decide what does work, what doesn't work. I have everything I may need to make basic t-shirts, except for the t-shirts. I've got the heat transfer vinyl. I've got the bling, the rhinestones, iron-on rhinestones. I've got all of those things. I've got my heat press. I just need the t-shirts on that one. And I need t-shirts of all sizes. That is one thing that makes me uncomfortable. I don't like having to carry multiple sizes because that's obviously more stock. And that messes up my stock plan. My store, do I sell it, do I not? If I don't sell it, I'm going to have to store it. And so that is a big decision. It's always been a problem with knowing that a lot of events will charge me for 2 booths, which cuts my profits by a great deal. If I get to a point where I'm looking at enough profits that that's worth it, that's fine. But if it happens to be an event where the booth is, say, $450, I think, was Fruit of Fall Festival. That's $900. Can I make enough to justify that second booth? That's definitely a tough one. So, yeah, there's all those things, and then the buttons and pins, and a lot of it is a reason to sell my art, but it is a feasible method of selling my art. It is not, please buy my art. None of my art, I try to make sure that it is unique and has my own spin on it whenever possible. And same with the jewelry. I do plan on using silver clay, and I have a whole bunch of gems and stones and things like that that were given to me that I will be turning into silver clay jewelry. That way all my settings are made by me, and that's going to require investment in some things that in the clay and in some molds and things like that. I already have all my polymer clay stuff, so that's not an issue. But for now, I'm going to have to stick to polymer clay, which, I've already discussed is not the most sturdy element of my designs. It's not as strong as I'd like, and I don't like that my jewelry's that fragile. So anyway, yeah, I've got my product line down. Oh, and my games. I've invented several games now. And I've got those on the back burner because they're going to require a little bit of work before I can fully sell them. And I want to keep in this fantasy, our theme is pirates, and I want to keep in this fantasy theme because I don't want junk, a lot of junk I can't move. I don't want to be selling the same things other people are selling. I don't want another junk shop. My family's had junk shops where we sold a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this, and there was no theme. And part of going from standard booth to artisan is honing that line. And so everything has either got to be made by me, and it has to be within a certain theme, which is pirate, fantasy goods, things like that. Changing the name of the business from Dream Wands is still a product we make, but changing the name from the business from Dream Wands, which we were actually Flow Dreams LLC all these years. That was always our, but we've had to let that go, and it wasn't really where we ended up. That was when I was going to try to do all water marbled goods, but definitely living with limited space, water marbling is no longer a full option. It takes a lot of room, a lot of place to make it, dip it, dry it. So that had to go. Same with the skin marbling. That was part of the marbling. And so that's all going by the wayside, and we're switching over to Dreamwinds Arts and more of an artisan line. And, hopefully I'll have a place where I can actually water marble again. And, I do love water marbling. It is very satisfying. But right now, it's just not feasible. So a lot of thought has to go into every decision I make. And that's the thing, is I've decided that I am not going to plan out the entire route for the next year and know what day I'm going to be where. I can't do it anymore. I am not in a position to do it. Right now, I need to focus on day-to-day decisions. I've been in survival mode for a long time, and that makes running a business hard, and that definitely makes scheduling hard. So stick with smaller events and try to plan just the next stop, what we do when we get there. So I do believe our first stop is going to be Santa Fe. We do have some issues because this is a 1980s RV. It does not have working heat or working water, so that definitely limits us. We have a generator, which you can't run everywhere. We do not have solar. This RV is not set up properly for what we're going to attempt to do, and that is very scary for me. For somebody who wants to see 10 steps ahead and have the next year planned out, that part is driving me crazy. That part is scary. But I suppose that's part of this, is challenging myself to one stop, worry about when I get there, stay there as long as we need to. And so right now I'm looking at where we're going to stay, how we're going to stay warm, how we're going to get access to showers and internet and those essentials to keep working. And what do I sell so that everything will fit. And some of our animals are going to have to be rehomed, which, if you know me, that breaks my damn heart. I love my babies. And this is Little Moo. We almost rehomed Little Moo. I thought I'd found a safe place for him, and it was not a safe place for him. So I tried to find him a new home on Facebook Marketplace, and I just couldn't go through with it. This little guy's been in our family for 8 years. He's the baby. Yeah, he's going to show you his butt now because, he's a little moo. And he was my daughter's cat, and he became my cat. And then, of course, you've met Pig, but I told you, there's always a cat within a few feet of me. Ugh. This is Pig. This is my special baby. He's special. Yeah. So those two I think can stay, but I don't think it's fair to the rabbit to keep her on this adventure. She deserves to go somewhere where she can have more of a life than living in an RV, and having two dogs is going to be really tough. So I've already, I think, found a home for the smaller one, AJ, Professor AJ von Boopenstuff, and I think that'll be better for him because both of our dogs are really old, and it's not easy to rehome an old dog like that. But we just can't ask them to live the life we're going to have to live either. So the oldest dog, the one that belongs to my son, can stay, but AJ already has a home, so I'm going to miss him. But I also know that he really, really likes the person I think that's going to take him. He adores them, and they feed him, so he's comfortable with them. And I don't know how many owners he's had. We had him after at least 2 owners, but could be more than that. So I think he'll be okay. I think it's going to be too much for him to go full-time RV travel life, and I am really concerned about keeping them comfortable. I'm concerned about the heat and the cold. You know, if we end up in Tucson, I don't want my animals in danger. I don't want my cats in danger. So that's definitely something which I think we are adventuring towards Tucson eventually, but I don't think we're going to stay anywhere long term. I definitely don't want to get stuck in Tucson for a summer or anywhere very hot. I don't want to be anywhere cold in the winter because it's bad for them and bad for me. Colorado has just gotten harder and harder every year. The cold and my arthritis do not get along, and it's getting harder and harder to breathe at this high altitude. I'm getting older. I'm in my 50s, and it's time to be a little easier on my body. So yeah, there's a lot of logistics. There's logistics, so many logistics. But that's the plan, is to just focus on the next step and stop trying to plan 10 steps ahead because it causes so much stress for me. I'm so sorry. It means coming up with a lot of money. And right now that's just not feasible. So yeah, it's balancing things out and cutting out what does not serve us right now. And again, some things may be later. Some things may have to get put off, and some things may have to move up. Right now, survival, living is the most important thing. Will we have power? Will we have heat? Will we have food? Will we have a place to park? Those things are what's important right now. Will we have fuel to get us to the next stop? So the situation was not ideal. Having 30 days when I was already working on it. It's not like I wasn't already heavily researching what was next. I just wasn't prepared for this, and I think a lot of people thought that I was going to get the art, I was going to sell the art, and they were going to be able to get their pound of flesh from me, and I think that kind of, that didn't work out so well, and it is going to take time that they're not able to give me, and every ounce of, or every pound of flesh I give them is one less pound that's going to be able to go into the business, which is part of survival. So, you know, $700 a month lot rent when we don't have a flushing toilet on site, really, it just can't happen anymore. There are plenty of RV parks that, at least in that same price range, will have toilets and showers and some of them swimming pools, and in a way, it's hard to think that our life won't be a step up just having access to a sewer dump, you know? So it is just scary that I can't plan 10 steps ahead right now. So I'm having to walk myself through that panic. But we've been kind of joking. So the county's reason for evicting everybody in RVs, and it wasn't just an RV thing, it's a whole county cleanup, which, sure, why not? But the funny part is, well, it was listed as blight, and I are blight, and I are tired of being blight, and are tired of everybody looking for a pound of flesh when I've only got a few ounces of flesh to spare, monetarily speaking. As long as everybody's got their hand out wanting every dime that comes in, I cannot grow. And that's why rent is out of the question. That's why staying in one place long term is out of the question. Buying our own land is out of the question. I've definitely looked at land around here, but that property I found in California, $150,000, around here, even if I get cheap land, it still has to be developed. It still has to have the septic put on it. It still has to have there are certain requirements. I don't think water is exactly a requirement, but I think you still have to prove that you're set up to haul water, and you have to have at least a 900 square foot building on it, and proper roads. Not that that's required, but out here in the valley, like right now, even the gravel driveways are really hard to navigate because of all the snow and the melting and the snow and the melting. So you can't just make a road into the property. You have to have some professional driveway of some sort, or park on the road and hike in. So yeah, and that means, really after the conversation about how I can get the money for the art, but that's going to require time, I realized that, I can't count my chickens before they hatch, as my grandma often said. I can't be looking at properties or any long-term solutions right now because I've got to take my baby steps. And I'm the one always telling people how to eat an elephant one bite at a time. But I need more people sometimes to remind me that, I'm definitely trying to eat the whole elephant. I just want to get it done. I've got the plans. I've got the spreadsheets. I know which steps go first. I've been planning it for years. But it's still eating an elephant. Especially with the financial situation as it is. So, anyway, I'll let you go. I've been wandering long enough, and I don't think anybody makes it to the end of these videos anyway. I don't blame you. 33 minutes of listening to me ramble is a bit much. But I love you, and I have a path in front of me, but it is a short-term path, and it is step one, make it to Santa Fe. That's how we eat an elephant.